Okay, so we fired up the compressor. Got enough air in it, you can hear it leaking a little bit. I cut a little bit of this out here. It'll kind of give an opening for some of this to shoot out. We're going to blow as much of this crap out of it, the rust, scale, and debris as we can. So there's a section we cut out. I made a little template first. And here it is. Put that little bend on it. I don't know if I can get down in there. I'll try though. So it'll go here and it'll go up to kind of the apex of this, but at the same time we will need to cut. I might go from the bottom of this and maybe to about right here. I'm going to poke at it a little bit, make sure I don't have any more rust. It looks like it's probably stable. That, I'll find out. I'll trim some more of that off here. I went ahead and took the pinch weld off where or not a pinch weld, but the lap weld where it comes into this channel. All the way up to here, and if I could just clean this up a little bit where I can't really get a cutting wheel in there because it's, you know, it's like getting a wheel in there like that. If I can clean that out, clean this metal up a little bit, and maybe decide on what to do with the rail here, how to get that out or where to stop on it, then I'll be in a good spot. So let's see what we can do. Right there. pillar goes up. Here's the end of that piece right here where that flange is, and it kind of dips down and sits on top of the railing up here inside the van for your skin. And this piece is just part of the inner roof, and this is just where it pinches from the roof here. So this is also the pinch. So as long as you understand how it all fits together, it'll help you decide the best route of attack. So here, it's kind of hard to see with the color of it, but see this line right down through here? This is the basically that. And then we're just going to try to mesh into that. I think the best thing to do is to, I've got the template cut for this, but we'll make a template here, do our bends on it, kind of like we did on that rail down there. So, let's see what we can do. Alright, now what we got here is a patch piece for this section. And you can see it's got a couple different angles on it and a couple cuts. Well, the cut allowed me to turn it a little bit, kind of give it a banana shape, what you would see vertically here. And then the other ones are to help wrap it, because fortunately we're not doing right here where it's everything's round, but it's starting to take that. So this should fit, and I just trimmed the roof a little bit so it'll fit a little better. Fit about there. Now, let's see. I might need to trip out here, I think. But technically it would fit like this. Okay. So that'll leave this piece up here to go down in there. So I'm going to trim this up and make sure we're good, and then I'm going to probably take a wire wheel to a lot of this area, even up in here, and just try to get it as clean as possible. And we can use our Eastwood frame coating with the long nozzle, and even if we put this all together, we could stick it up through these holes here. There's so many different areas to put it through, and it'll coat all this stuff and hopefully protect it forever. So let's see what we can do with this this little piece here. And I'm going to build this corner piece so it'll be an angle kind of like that, and we'll have to figure out how to get that bend out of it, or I could do it in two pieces. We might do it that way, and see what we got. So we've got this piece, little patch piece made. And had to do some little relief cuts in order to get that little pitch on it. See where it's wider on this one here, and the other two are not too bad. And then it's more complex than you think. Had to do a little bit in this bend, seeing the relation. It's kind of got a lean to it, and it fits pretty good in here. I think the usual concept will have to take place where I will start tacking it in a really good spot. See, it fits good here, and then it kind of dips in behind there. So I'll probably tack it here, and as I get up to here, I'll pry it back out and tack it into place. And then once I do that, I will create the kind of the J shape that fits on here. It'll help cover this gap up. It'll help bring the thickness back up so that when the gasket sets on it for the windshield, you won't have any problems. So this piece, I think, will be the kind of the hardest. I'll have to poke it out of there again. And so yeah, that's where we're at, and I'll get that tacked, and we'll go on to that next piece. You'll see what goes on there. So here's the piece, second piece. We got this one welded in, right? So this one will sit right inside there, and we will tack it right down here in this little area where it falls short, and that area falls short, so that way we can fill that in, make that difference in there. And then we'll go around through the corner and just weld it to the other one. And I'll probably I might drill one hole and spot weld it right about here, so it'll fall about right there. So when you see us here in a second, you will see this in place where it needs to be, and then we will proceed to touch all the other welds up, making sure it's nice and solid, and we'll have our windshield channel back in operation. So we got this piece on the bottom tacked in. I anchored it here and here. I used some vice grips to make sure it was nice and tight. Both sides. So I did one here, tacked it, one here, tacked it, and then we had a spot weld right in the middle. Smaller hole than usually the other ones are about a 3/8 of an inch. This one was about a 1/8 of an inch hole. Didn't have a lot of meat to really, put a bigger one in there. But that'll do. And then so you can see the little pinholes that we got here. We're gonna go through and clean these up, fill them in. Same thing in the gutter here. So you just go through and just stitch them together, and then go through, grind it carefully. Probably have to use the little roto lock disc to get in this little corner here, and also just to get up against that tight, kind of a 90 degree there. So just do that, excuse me, repeat until you get it all smoothed out and all filled in. And then might do a little bit of touch up here, and yeah, we got to go right down that rail again. So get that, and this job should be done. So okay, so we have a little bit of a backtrack here. We got our piece welded in, mostly smooth out. It needs some detail work, and the piece here, but you're seeing that this has been cut out. This is the piece that was there, and as I was grinding on the corner to achieve our kind of a curve that we have here, it just blew out right up here. And the weird thing was, when I was welding it here, it was pretty strong. It wasn't blowing out. But if you turn this around, it was pretty rotted there. So it's very thin, and it did the same thing here, which was just about 1.5 inches apart. And we had a spot that was developing in this one. So you look at the back side, and that's me poking at it with a welding slag hammer. Cut it in like a rectangle shape. So we'll cut a piece for that. We'll probably have to put some reliefs in it to achieve this curve with that curve. So when you have the two-way curve, that's when it's going to start buckling on you. So we'll get into that then. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I got going on here. It's getting a little complex, or just enough to where you could still do this very easily. But if you look at the roof, obviously you have some curvature going a couple ways. You got it going this way, you got it coming this way, and it starts to flatten out about right here, and it goes straight. Okay, so you have I got this piece cut, and it's basically just, I made a small template that would cover the area of where the rust was here, here, and here, and just went ahead and went off of our old spot weld, where I did not spot welds, but our tack weld line for this new piece here. That way I know we'd have some fresh metal to bite into. This is pretty much going to bite into our new piece that we put on earlier with part of the channel. This will be the old, and this will be old, and this will be old. So it'll be a little bit thinner, but that's okay. It should be pretty healthy back on about 95% of it. So the piece here, let me take this magnet off of it. If you notice, it looks like there's a little bit of a bend. See how the light catches it here? And there is a real slight one there. And see right there at the top, there is a slight one. Okay? That is to help kind of alleviate that curvature going multiple directions. If you look at it here, it was bent a little bit extra. It's really hard to tell. If I take my magnet and put it on there, you can kind of slip it into place. Now all I'm doing at this point, see, it fits all right. It's a little loose in there. It's just shaving the edges until it kind of fits in there like a puzzle piece, and then you fill your edges. So we feel pretty good along here, and it pumps out a little bit right about there. Not bad. Right here where my thumb is, it's really nice. It fits with this one flush. Right here, it's very good. And that leaves us, I will backtrack a little bit. Right here, it's sticking up just a hair, like a 64th of an inch. but the whole thing is up just a hair, so it might kind of alleviate if you get. Okay, so probably a little bit of that is because it's setting down here and it's about flush there. So probably if you pick it up a little bit, see, and then it wants to fall down in there. That's actually a pretty good sign. So if you set it there about like that, it fits pretty good. Okay. And I think we can work with that as long as the better part of it. Now I use a little thicker gauge. It's I believe it's a 16 gauge. It's a lot of what we use down there on the floor. So it's thicker than everything else. But in this situation, I don't think it's a bad thing because you're putting thicker metal back in where it got thin. All right, and you're also going to kind of give it some strength back. Another advantage is if you have to kind of work these bend marks down that I made on the vise, which is just that little vise, you know, little $10 vise I got over there from the 60s. You can grind that down with the flappy wheel and then kind of gradiate it into the surface of this so it'll blend in. And it's kind of a little cheat way to, hack way to get it to fit and then use thicker steel but not have to have it absolutely positively perfect. But like I said, you got a real nice edge here. So again, if we go to weld that, we'd probably just anchor it down here where we know it fits good and then kind of persuade it back into the spots where it's given a little bit of a difference. So that's what we got, and when you see it here in a few minutes, we should have some weld on there. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that a little bit and just spray a little bit more of our stuff up in there. We'll get it later with the little nozzle, but it's just good to get it when you can see it. And there we go. We've got a nice, one of the better patches actually, with a little bit of persuasion with a screwdriver, just holding it, kind of giving it some pressure on right here, and then using the clamp. I got enough beef on it so I can grab it. I pushed the clamp down to where it was all flush, and this is a really good patch. I was actually surprised with as much curvature as it has going on in it. So yeah, so it's tacked in real solid, and then I'll go through and basically seal it all up with the rest of the welds. So we've got 4 pieces here that are going on. We've got this one we put on first. We've got the piece that curves up in here, the piece on the flat, and then this piece here. So we've really fixed this area up really good. I'll probably have to get some like Dremel style bits and really smooth this out. I can't really use the roto-lock or the flappy wheel in there. It's just too tight. Okay, so went ahead and touched up a lot more of the welds. Gonna go one more round with it. Got a couple little pinholes here. This is after just smoothing it out. Still warm, and it feels pretty good. I think this can definitely be worked with here. So that pretty much sums that up. So I get some time, I will touch the rest of this up and get that a little bit smoother, and then we can move on to the next step. So we've got a lot of work done on this. We've got the A-pillar itself here on the inside all the way up to here on this part, and then windshield rail. We'll clean that up, and then like we showed you last week, that piece down there. So what we'll probably hit next, I think it's a good time to go over there on that side and get that lower rocker belly portion of the van, and then we'll just go from there and see what we got. So thanks for watching.